Let's just say it out loud. The average erect penis size is. Wait, why are we all tensing up? Why are you suddenly alert, a little uncomfortable, maybe even laughing to yourself? Exactly. That right there, that moment is why we're here today. This isn't about sex. This isn't even about penises. It's about something so much bigger. It's about measurement. It's about comparison. It's about how, from the moment we're old enough to look in a mirror, we are told explicitly and silently that who we are isn't enough unless we measure up to some standard. You can insert anything in that blank space. The average salary is, the average weight is, the average number of likes, the average body count, the average IQ, the average SAT score. Pick your poison, and if you're a man, there's a very specific poison society likes to sell you the size of your masculinity. And for years, we've joked about it, whispered about it, lied about it, and worried about it. But here's the deeper truth, this obsession with measurement. It's destroying people, because when you reduce human worth to a number, to a stat, to a line graph, to some arbitrary average, you dehumanize yourself. You stop showing up as you and start contorting yourself into something you think the world wants. Let's get real. How many of you feel behind in life right now? Behind in your career, behind in your fitness, behind in love, behind on goals you thought you'd have figured out by now. And where does that come from? It comes from comparison. It comes from this invisible ruler we carry around, measuring ourselves against what we see online, what our friends are doing, what our parents expect, what some average is supposed to be. And you know what comparison is. It's a liar. It is the thief of joy. It is the thief of progress. It is the reason you start your day already doubting yourself before your feet even hit the floor. And listen, I'm not standing here judging you. I've been there. I have wasted years of my life measuring myself by what I wasn't. Not smart enough, not successful enough, not thin enough, not strong enough, not making enough, not doing enough. But one day I realized something that changed everything. You do not get confidence by comparing. You build confidence by doing. Confidence is not born in knowing you measure up. It's born in showing up, even when you don't. Let's go back to that title for a second, because you're still thinking about it, aren't you? The average erect penis size is. And now I want to ask you a question. Why does that number matter so much to people? Because we've been trained, conditioned to believe that what we are must be proven through numbers. That numbers define power, that numbers define attractiveness, that numbers define success. It's the same reason why women hate the number on a scale, why teens obsess over follower counts, why executives live and die by quarterly reports, why people inflate resumes and hide in filters. It's all the same disease, comparison addiction. And let me tell you something, it's a disease that will keep you small, it will keep you insecure, it will keep you stuck in a life that looks good on the outside and feels hollow on the inside. Because when you live your life trying to be average, or better, when you live for external validation, you are not living at all. You're performing, you're surviving, you're checking boxes, and there's a massive difference between success and satisfaction. Success is what the world sees. Satisfaction is what you feel. And most people are chasing one and missing the other. Let me ask you something else. What if you stopped comparing entirely? What if you stopped letting the number decide your worth? What if the only measurement that mattered was how deeply you lived, how honestly you showed up, how often you tried? You are not a number. You are not an average. You are not some statistic in a medical journal, or a social media algorithm, or a hiring manager's spreadsheet. You are a once in human history phenomenon. There will never be another you. So why would you waste your time trying to be like everyone else? Why would you fight to be average when you were born to be authentic? Let's break this down even further. Every time you hold back because you think you're not good enough, you rob the world of your real self. Every time you compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20, you delay your own growth. And every time you shrink yourself to fit and you forget that you were meant to stand out, stop chasing the average, start chasing alignment, start chasing truth, start chasing the life that makes you feel alive, not validated, not approved, not applauded alive. So let me wrap it with this. If the title of this speech made you uncomfortable, good. That's where growth begins. If you thought this was going to be about size, you were right, but not the size you think. It's about the size of your heart, the size of your courage, the size of your belief in yourself. So the next time your brain whispers, "Do I measure up?" I want you to answer with this: I don't measure, I move, I rise, I try, I grow, and I don't chase average, I create impact. Because you weren't born to measure up. You were born to break the damn ruler. Comparison is the thief of confidence. It's not just a nice quote to toss around. It's a truth that most of us live with every single day, often without even realizing it. From the moment we wake up, we are flooded with messages, images, and reminders of who we should be, what we should look like, what we should have accomplished by now. We scroll through social media and see highlight reels of other people's lives. Perfect vacations, sculpted bodies, polished success stories, loving relationships, flawless skin, designer clothes, six-figure businesses launched overnight. And what do? We measure. We measure ourselves against people we don't even know. We compare our behind the scenes to someone else's best moment. We look at their curated lives and feel less than, less attractive, less successful, less smart, less worthy. We internalize this narrative that we're falling short, even if just by a little, and over time, that little feeling of not enough compounds into a deep-rooted belief. Confidence doesn't vanish all at once. It erodes, slowly, quietly, and constantly. By 1,000 small comparisons, you might be doing great. You might be making progress. You might be showing up every single day, working hard, pushing forward, doing the best you can. But all it takes is one scroll, one conversation, one moment of comparison to completely undercut that progress. Suddenly, your wins feel smaller, your growth feels irrelevant, your journey feels like it's taking too long. You start asking yourself, why am I not further along? Why don't I look like that? What's wrong with me? That's not your voice. That's the voice of comparison speaking in disguise. Here's what comparison does. It convinces you to discredit your own experience. It tells you that your timeline is wrong, that your life isn't interesting enough, that your body isn't desirable, that your voice doesn't matter. And it does this without yelling. It whispers softly, persistently, until you believe it, until you stop showing up fully, until you hesitate, until you second guess every decision, and when that hesitation takes root, your confidence begins to disappear. Confidence is not a trait you're born with. It's not a switch that turns on when everything's perfect. Confidence is a skill built over time by keeping promises to yourself, by trying even when you're scared, by failing and getting back up. But comparison short-circuits that process, because when you compare, you stop focusing on yourself, you start looking sideways, you stop growing because your attention is no longer on your own lane. Think about the last time you felt truly proud of yourself. Maybe you accomplished something big, maybe you overcame a challenge, maybe you just showed up when it was hard. That pride came from within. It came from effort, from resilience, from action. But the second you compared it to someone else's version of success, the pride shrank. You let an external standard override your internal truth, and that's how comparison steals confidence. It replaces your own narrative with someone else's. What's even more dangerous is that comparison isn't always obvious. It can disguise itself as motivation. You might tell yourself, I'm just looking at others to be inspired. But what starts as inspiration often turns into judgment. Judgment of yourself, judgment of your pace, judgment of your appearance, your background, your achievements. And judgment kills confidence faster than failure ever will. The truth is, no one's path looks the same. No one's starting point is identical. No one's struggles are visible in full, but comparison blinds us to that. It paints other people's lives as smooth, effortless, perfect. It makes you forget that you're only seeing a piece of the puzzle. You don't see the late nights, the anxiety, the losses, the doubt. You just see the result, and then use that result as a mirror for your own reflection. When you stop comparing, you give yourself permission to grow. You give yourself permission to be where you are without shame. You start measuring progress by your own standards, and in that space, without distraction, without noise, without external pressure, your confidence has the chance to rebuild. Because confidence thrives in self-trust. It grows when you look in the mirror and see your own value, not someone else's. Comparison doesn't push you forward, it pulls you back, it slows your momentum. It turns your focus from progress to perfection, from learning to judgment, from movement to paralysis. It tells you that you're not there yet, and maybe you never will be, but that's a lie. It's always been a lie. Confidence was never about being better than someone else. It was always about being true to yourself, in your own time, in your own way. You are not defined by numbers. That's something we all need to hear, not just once, but over and over again until it replaces the story that's been running in the background of our lives. Because from a very young age, we've been programmed to think in numbers. Grades, scores, followers, weight, height, salaries, bank account balances, test results, and somewhere along the way, those numbers stopped being data and started becoming identity. They started carrying meaning they were never meant to hold. You get a grade on a test and you think it tells you how smart you are. You step on a scale and let the number determine your self-worth. You look at your bank account and use it to decide whether you're successful. You see your social media following and let it define your influence, your voice, your value. It's constant, it's everywhere. Numbers on screens, numbers on paper, numbers in conversation. And all of them trying to whisper one thing: are you enough? But the truth is, numbers are just information. They're not judgment. They're not verdicts. They don't tell the full story. They don't know your intentions. They don't see your work ethic. They don't feel your compassion, your creativity, your resilience. They don't measure your kindness or your courage or the way you make people feel. They can't, and yet we give them all this power. We hand over our sense of worth and let a number decide how we feel about ourselves. You are not your weight. That number doesn't reflect your health, your habits, your battles, your relationship with your body. You are not your income. That number doesn't show your generosity, your ambition, your circumstances, your dreams. You are not your test scores or your GPA. Those numbers don't reflect your curiosity, your passion, your ability to learn or grow or lead. You are not your age. That number doesn't limit what you're capable of, what you can start, or what you can become. And yet, so many of us are living lives chained to these numbers. We wait to hit a certain number before we give ourselves permission to feel proud, to feel beautiful, to feel like we've made it. We say things like, when I lose 10 pounds, I'll feel confident. When I hit 6 figures, I'll be successful. When I get X followers, I'll start posting. It's always something external, something quantifiable, something that can be compared. And because of that, our sense of identity becomes fragile. Because if numbers can define us, then they can also destroy us. Think about how many people are in toxic cycles because of this. People starving themselves to reach a goal weight. People staying in jobs they hate for the sake of a bigger paycheck. People going into debt trying to look successful. People burning out just to keep up appearances. People measuring their entire lives by arbitrary benchmarks they didn't even set for themselves. That's the cost of defining yourself by numbers. You stop living from your truth and start living for approval, for validation, for comparison, and the worst part, the goalposts keep moving. You think once you hit one number, you'll feel fulfilled, but then it's not enough. You want more, you need more, because you've tied your worth to something that was never designed to hold it. Numbers will never be enough to satisfy the soul, because the soul doesn't speak in numbers. It speaks in purpose, in presence, in impact, in connection. And none of those things can be measured. You are not a score. You are not a stat. You are not a data point. You are a human being, full of flaws and fire and potential. You have value that cannot be quantified. You have worth that is intrinsic, not conditional. You were born worthy. You don't earn that through numbers. You don't lose it because of numbers. You carry it within you, whether anyone sees it or not. There will always be someone with better numbers, someone richer, someone skinnier, someone with more likes or more degrees or more achievements. If you let that determine your value, you'll always feel behind. You'll always feel less than, and you'll miss the real power you have not in how you compare, but in how you connect, how you create, how you contribute. Those are the things that matter. Those are the things that last. And none of them are measured in numbers.